neither here nor there. Tonight, I am pleased to bring you the first in, I'm thinking so far, a 9-part series studying the Bible. And studying the Bible not in the normal ways that you've heard it studied before. We're not going to talk about fire and brimstone. We're not going to condemn people to hell. We're going to simply take many, many sections of the Bible and how they equate to today's life lessons in the ways that they can help you and help me and help everybody. And I want everybody to keep an open mind. I know that most of my listeners don't believe in God and the Bible and all this, that, and the other. And you claim to be atheists, although you probably are not. You're just trying to be a chat room, whatever you want to call it, warrior, whatever. So I presume that there will be a lot of people out there listening. Now, I want you to try to keep your mouth. I will be watching the chat room. I will be bouncing the assholes out of there that caused a ruckus and say hate. I've had enough hate for one life. So without further ado, let me go to the board and unmute my first Skype caller. You are with Debbie on the air.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, hi. How are you, Debbie?
Oh, hi. Is this Mr. Solution?
Yes.
I'm having technical difficulties over here. Let me turn up my sound system. I can't hear you, and my mouse won't work. I'm sorry. Output volume. The mouse doesn't... There we go. Now, can you say something again?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you wonderfully now.
Oh,
and
great.
How has your weekend been, Mr. Solution?
Oh, fantastic. I was just in a great theme park. I was biking, and I said, well, let me scurry and join Debbie on her show discussing the Bible.
I'm so happy you're here. Now, I don't know how we're going to get into this deal. Is it the mount? I'm sorry, we're still trying to set up Bluetooth 5. You want to do that for me, Victor, while I talk to Mr. Solution?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you had a chance, Mr. Solution, to see any of the new series on the, I think it's the History Channel, I'm not sure, I could be wrong, called The Bible?
Sure. I've watched some of it, although to be candid with you, it's very difficult for me to watch that, having read the actual account and noting how Hollywood takes what you call poetic license or literary license. So I don't know why they don't stick to the exact thing that happened in the scriptures, but maybe that's neither here nor there. But, yeah, I have seen some of it. For example, I'll just give you a quick example with the battle between David and Goliath, and that was very important. David actually crushed Goliath's forehead right between the bridge of his nose and his forehead, and it says the stone sank deep or deeply. And Goliath fell on his face, and then David, of course, beheaded him. But, you know, they presented it differently. He didn't fall flat on his face, and, you know, just some technical things that, you know, could have been portrayed properly that weren't. And there are a lot of other things. But at any rate, I am familiar with the series. I have a real problem with their presenting Jesus, as it were, as you could imagine. But I do think it gets...
What were your problems that you saw? And I want to see if you remember, if you agree with me on their portrayal of Jesus Christ.
Well, obviously they can't duplicate the miracles. Okay. So, but... That's of course one, and just the way Jesus is casted, I just don't see Jesus as having been that way. Jesus obviously was Jesus was a tough guy. He could be very gentle, but remember, he was the one that went into the temple and cleared it out, and that's analogous to going into Vegas and really. Messing up their hustle, as it were. And and Jesus got into a lot of verbal battles, to where he won every one of them. but I just think it's a lot of it is watered down, and it doesn't follow. They could use the exact language of Scripture. I mean, update it. They don't have to use the these and the thous, but they could, I feel, just point it out more accurately.
I agree with you. I think the only good thing about it so far is that if it brings anybody to the Bible, to Christ, then it's, I guess, served a good purpose. Would you not agree with that?
Agreed. Oh, absolutely. I agree fully. I do believe there's some life there, regardless. It's just, it just doesn't suit my taste, having, been a studier of the Bible a student of the Bible for a number of years. I just see it being casted more or less, Hollywood puts their spin on it. But yeah, I agree with you fully. If it piques people's interest enough to go read the record for themselves, I think it's done a wonderful job.
Good. I totally agree with you. Now, before we move any further, I want to let everybody know that's listening live and in the archive. Tonight we will be discussing, or we will be continuing to discuss, the book of Job. Now, that is spelled J-O-B, and it looks like the word job. It's basically found in the center of your Bible, sort of. It's right before Proverbs and Psalms. Psalms is right in the middle of your Bible. If you look down on it and you just go right dead center, you're probably going to hit Psalms. Go left one and then go left one more and you'll be on the book of Job. What I thought I would do is I would take a couple of areas of Job, but first of all, before we get into that, I think I have something from your son.
Oh, how is my son? I was concerned about him.
Well, he gives us a couple of messages. He sends us 2 YouTube videos, and he says, I hope Mr. Solution can explain where he thinks that Thomas Sowell and Dinesh D'Souza are wrong in these videos.
Oh, boy.
Let's see what they say. Let's give him he went to the trouble to give me the link, bless his heart. Let's see what they say. They say...
Dinesh D'Souza, you have written the end of racism. We get into in much detail what you have to say here. But you start from really almost turning a lot of the liberal analysis of racism on its ear.
Rats, I put on the wrong one. Remember last night we were talking about how really neat and cool it was when Mr. Solution and I talked about the book of Genesis? I thought this was the show about the book of Genesis, and it's not. We're continuing the book of Job. So I screwed up. Let me do this real quick, and I'll see if I can find it real quick, okay? I'm going to put on one little song, and then I'm going to look and see. I put on the wrong one. Okay? It's not a song. This is Lewis Black talking about the Old Testament versus the New Testament. It's really funny. Listen to it, and I'll be right back. I'm going to find that audio.
I should have known earlier about President Bush, but I gave him some rope, a lot of rope, and then he hung all of us with it. I should have known it when I heard him say, when it comes to evolution, the jury's still out. What jury where? The Scopes trial is over. I never thought that during the course of my life that a president would be elected who didn't believe in evolution, or at least kind of in the ballpark of it, or thought maybe it's got some merit. But no, he believes that the earth was created in 7 days. Whew. Takes my breath away. And why does he believe that? Because he read it in the Old Testament, which is the book of my people, the Jewish people. And that book wasn't good enough for you Christians. was it? He went, no, we've got a better book with a better character. You're going to love him. And you called your book new and said our book was old. And yet every Sunday, I turn on the television set. And there's a priest or a pastor reading from my book. And interpreting it. And their interpretations, I have to tell you, are usually wrong. And it's not their fault, because it's not their book.
Okay, I found it. I'm pretty sure this is it. We were talking last night on the show about how Mr. Solution and I, or mostly actually Mr. Solution, I didn't really have that much input on it, but we did a pretty cool way of looking at the book of Genesis. Mr. Solution takes it and explains it in a way that actually really was interesting to me and a lot of other people. So, without further ado, here is the original broadcast of me and my guest, Mr. Solution, my good friend through the internet, talking about the book of Genesis. Here we go. Thank you.
Genesis is a complicated book in the Bible. It's the very first book of the Bible. A lot of people believe it is the beginning of everything. A lot of very smart people. I frankly believe, after the research I've done, that it was written by Moses. Moses was thought to have written the first 5 books of the Quran and also of the Torah, which is a Bible that is used by the Judeo religion, the Judaism, Jews, whatever you want to call it. It is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, I believe, which were ascribed by Moses. These people would sit in their houses made of bricks, and they would have a scribe with them. They wrote just like we did. They wrote, they had instruments they used for writing pens, and they sat and they wrote. They called them scribes. If you've ever seen the movie, the film, The 10 Commandments, you will remember there's many parts in there where Ramses II, which is played by none other than Yul Brynner, the very muscular Yul Brynner, he says, "So it shall be written, so it shall be done." Little things like that obviously meant that the scribes were writing things down, and as we speak, well, that's what we're reading today. We're reading what they wrote down. And the study of the book of Genesis is a very, very interesting book, and I really hope that everybody's here tonight on time so that we can get the ball rolling and get right down to business. I'm going to do 2 things before I go, as we say, go to the board, and that would be to go ahead and pull up the Bible Gateway. That's where we read from, everybody. It's BibleGateway.com. It's one word, simply Bible Gateway, Gateway, and then .com. We read from that, from the NIV, the New International Version. It's a little bit easier to understand. If you really want to understand, go to the easy-to-read versions. There are over 100 versions on that site. The number one source on the internet of the Bible. And there's readers. Did you know that you can start with Genesis 1 with the reader and actually have a free audiobook of the entire Bible, because it's nonstop. And if you don't want it, you have to do what I do, which is click non-continuous. So, having said that, we've got our Bible Gateway pulled up, and we are going to go over and pick them up on the board, whoever's there. All right, Spreaker's fine. Hi, Spreaker people over there. Spreaker's rolling. We're coming out over there at a 128 bit rate. Nice. We're coming out over here. Chat room's there. Episodes. All right, everything looks good. Let's go to the board. All right. Da-da-da. I wonder if this is my partner in crime. Is this you?
Oh, Debbie, can't you tell? How are you this grand evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm so well. I would be triplets if it were any different. You. I will say, just listening to you, and just before you came on, I said, Debbie, you are a queen of Blog Talk Radio for sure. And like unto yourself, I'm a stem winder regarding whatever I choose to participate, the best of its kind. Last week, just to get a couple of things straight, if I may, I'm actually licensed to teach the scriptures. I don't often put that forward. If I go...
Stop. What did you just say? You kind of faded off. You're licensed to teach the scriptures. You're licensed to teach the scriptures. Is that what you said, sir?
Yes, that is exactly what I said. I'm sorry if I faded.
Wow.
Yeah, I am. And the thing of it is I don't publicize that or broadcast it. And the only reason I mention it now is because I'm very patient, by the way. And a couple of things that were said last week, I think if you played your tape, you kind of bent over backwards to cater to the lowest common denominator, as I like to say. And that is, you were saying things like, well, it's just his opinion. And you know what I did, just out of care and concern? I actually looked up some words that would better depict my position. And better than opinion, although opinion is a good word, because opinion refers to some court decisions that are issued. But I think reason, confidence, conviction, doctrine, tenet, principle, persuasion, truth, analyses, or even interpretation would be much better. And most of those words incorporate the notion of reasoning, and dealing with the available evidence. So an opinion, by the way, is not a bad word, but I think the way it's generally perceived, it is very lambent. It's very surface. But it says a belief or judgment that rests on grounds insufficient to produce complete certainty. And in law, it means the formal statement by a judge or court of the reasoning and the principles of law used in reaching a decision of a case. So I would say that although opinion is good, I think I would ask you, just based upon what I've shared with you, I think it needs to be fortified a little bit more than just saying to people that this is one's opinion, because if it were just my opinion, I wouldn't be sharing it. I think this is crucial. I think it's crucial leading ultimately to the Messiah, and I think it's crucial ultimately leading to faith in the Messiah, known as the Christ, as it were, which means anointed one, Christos. And so I think, again, the words, if you were going to depict me, and like I say, I am licensed. Now, I don't have to have that. I mean, and I don't even have to tell you that. I think the presentation itself should depict it, or I should go and get relicensed. I don't know. But the point is that I think a word, it needs to be said with a little bit more involvement than it's just his opinion, as if one could say, well, since it's just his opinion, I don't have to take it seriously. And I'm not saying that's exactly what you meant, but I think with many people that could be the takeaway. And I always put emphasis upon the takeaway. So I think the word confidence, conviction, doctrine, tenet, principle, persuasion, I think those words convey much more of an impact of what we're dealing with here than it's just something that's fly by night and a person can either accept it or reject it. I don't know. Does that make sense to you? Does that...
Well,
Hello?
I want to start off. Yes, I want to start off by saying now it's all explained as to why you are so brilliant about this. And number two, I used to get paid $65,000 a year to sit in a very posh office reading slip opinions from the Court of Appeals in not only the state of Texas, in the 5th District, but I also had to read slip opinions from the federal government. And having read those slip opinions, I actually was responsible for finding the biggest acquittal in the history of North Texas because I found a little piece of information that said that a locked briefcase is covered under the 4th and the 14th Amendment of the United States Civil Rights of the you know how words always escape my mind, of the Constitution, okay? And so I wanted to mention that. Number two, I agree with you. Opinion has been overused by so many people because it's like, well, aren't you the one that's opinionated, or they're opinionated, or, you know, opinion is a very overused, misused word. So I like interpretation. When you said that, and if you'll remember, Mr. Solution, we were attacked last week in the chat room, and I believe a couple of times on the phone whenever Patrick called in and just went all over you and said, you know, and I just said, hey, we're not stating this as fact. This is basically our, I'll say now, interpretation of the Word of God. And so that's why I got a little bit militant last week, was, if you remember, we were attacked. Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. And Debbie, just a couple of things. And I know you called me brilliant. I never refer to myself that way, but nevertheless, I think you're brilliant. And I like to actually draw from your brilliance. And it is simply this. I know into knowledge, you know, there's a passage in the Scriptures that says, with all your get understanding. So some people may have knowledge, but they don't have understanding. And understanding, or wisdom, which is a synonym for understanding, is different from just having knowledge. I've actually studied certain savants, or what we call very, very bright people. Some people graduate high school at 16 or 15, and then end up graduating college at 16 and 17. But they have a great deal of knowledge, but no wisdom. And wisdom is defined briefly as the application, the proper application or practical application of knowledge. And so you'll find people with knowledge bubbling over, but no wisdom. And so they will say things that are patently out of order. And I think each one of us has to judge that for himself or herself. And I'm a doer. That's what I ultimately am. And, you know, there's a scripture that says wisdom is proved by its children or by its results. And so that's really what I take my cue from. But I think that if you and I, banter this, I think it's much better served. I know you're in the chat room. Some demons are in the chat room. And a demon's purpose is to distract from any truth. And so I would, just encourage you, let's you and I talk about it, because I think ultimately you are the best banterer. You are the best one that we can, go back and forth with this and produce some takeaways. I think the chat room, and I'm not saying in every instant, but the chat room, especially certain people that will be left unnamed at this particular point, but they know themselves, and you know who they are, and I know who they are, they're going to provide more smoke than heat or more smoke than fire. So I think I do enjoy your mind. I appreciate your mind, and I've told you this in the past, and I don't kid around. I think it would be best for you and I to go back and forth with the, points of Scripture than to oftentimes search the desolate landscape that's presented by certain people in the chat room, if you catch my drift.
Yes, and that's it. I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree. And
Let me say this. This is an exceedingly powerful book, and I've prepared for the book. I didn't want to do a whole lot of, written information because some people say I'm a little bit too professorial. And I don't want to be that way. I want to be that way for me, but for the average person, I just want to present it to where they can grasp it. Now, this is a profound book, and I think it should be approached with some degree of reverence, and this is even for the non-believer, because of the place that this book holds in history alone, just as the Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer, or many other works of antiquity. So I think that, and I studied this book in college, actually, from a literary standpoint. But I think the historicity and the authenticity of this particular book is well noted. And I just think, like I say again, you and I are well able to deal with the ins and outs that Genesis presents. Now, one thing I'll say with respect to these scriptures, either there's a God or there's not a God. If there's not a God, I think a lot of people forget the implication. They think, well, if there's not a God, we can just go merrily along our way. If there's no God, all rules, all bets are off. In other words, it's totally up to man, and whatever man does is what man does. There's no right or wrong. If there's ultimately no God that says, you shall not murder, or you shall not steal, or all of the other things that are, demonstrative of the Ten Commandments and following, then, of course, if there is no God, it's just as Dr. Weinberg said, who I believe is absolutely brilliant, but I think he's definitely wrong on this particular point. He says that based on his study of the universe, that it's pointless. But see, God is outside of the universe. By definition, aseity, God is outside of time, space, matter, motion, and energy. God is the creator of that. So, I think there is ample evidence. I was listening to Dr. I'll think of his name in a minute, but he's out of Arizona State. And what he says is that ultimately the universe created him. Now, he'll say the universe created him, but he's unwilling to say who created the universe. And I was listening to Richard Dawkins, and Richard Dawkins' reason for rejecting God, and you can certainly evaluate this. Richard Dawkins' fundamental reason for rejecting God was that God is a more complicated explanation because he says the universe just existing as it is understandable. But when you go into, exclaiming that a God created the universe, he says, that becomes more difficult to explain the creator of the universe. So Richard Dawkins just excludes God, although he says even if there is a God, you can't come to the conclusion that it's a caring God. So he more or less says it's a deistic God. You know, God just kind of created the universe, wound it up, and went away. So he says you can't assume that the God, even if there is a God, not that he believes there is a God, but he says if there is a God, he doesn't believe that it's a personal God as is represented by the Scriptures. But, you know, again, I think that is an insufficient reason for discounting God, because God is a disembodied spirit or an unembodied spirit. And therefore, God is the most simple explanation for the universe, because God is simply all of everything that he is. So he's not part of this and part of that. He's all-loving, all-knowing, you see, everywhere at once, omniscient. And that word omniscient includes the word science, so all-knowing, and omnipotent, all-powerful. So God is all of what he is, not part of this and part of that. So God is, in essence, when thought of, simple, not simplistic, but simple. And so I just say, again, the point would be, if there is no God, then, of course, we eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. This is it. This is it. And I don't think a lot of people would be accepting of that if they just took a moment and reflected upon it. They think there's more to life. They feel, they believe in the depth of their soul that there's more to reality than just this we experience. And I believe that is the case. I think there's strong evidence. And let me just say this. There are different kinds of evidence. Sure, the things that we can touch, smell, taste, and see are types of evidence. But there's also evidence that we accept, logic, reason, this sort of thing, deduction, induction, you know, so there are historical evidence. So there are different kinds of evidences. And I think the reason that most people have the greatest problem with there is a God, because God demands that you be accountable. Nothing else does. And so that's where people break away from, wanting to believe in God as opposed to believing in anything else that's brought to us through the avenue of history. Those other things don't make a claim upon us. They don't demand anything of us. God does. And so I think, that's the open and honest reason that a lot of people have problems with God. But those are just a few of the things that I wanted to interject.
Excellent. Excellent. Where did we leave off last week? Do you remember? I hope everybody gets here on time, because I've had so many people saying, oh, I'm getting so much from your Bible study, and they're learning things. And somebody told me just the other day, I know more now than I did before I started listening to your weekly Bible study, Debbie. Now, that is something else. And there's more than just, 10 people that have told me that. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Well, I think that's very good. I think it's very good for them. I feel good because of the substance. And I do feel good if they have listened to something that is truly good. I mean, an opera is great. I plan to go to the opera pretty soon. I like theater, opera, this sort of thing. And it's okay to feel good. I think I was asking a pastor, I deal with pastors quite often. I said to the pastor, I said, the pastor said, I believe the word is doulos in Greek, and that means a slave for Jesus Christ. And I said, please contrast where Christ said, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. I said, how do you reconcile those two? And, of course, he reflected for a moment, and he ended up saying, well, as a servant of Christ, I'm able to, fulfill that particular mandate. And I said, okay, fine. But we left off at Genesis chapter 3, and see, the thing here of time, God doesn't give us exact time. So it appears that our parents, our first parents, human parents, did not spend a lot of time alone before they screwed up. What a tragedy. I mean, this is an absolute human tragedy. Shakespeare wrote a lot of tragedies and this sort of thing, but I think this is the greatest tragedy right here, the fall of mankind through our first parents, known as Adam and Eve. And even though other scriptures, Babylonian scriptures and what have you, talk about this, and I understand why they talk about this, because this was a common and popular record of antiquity. The thing is Genesis gives us a clear picture of where we came from, what happened, why it happened, and pretty much how we can reverse a great deal of it. Remember, just like the NTSB, National Transportation and Safety Board, whenever there's a crash of a major craft, such as a boat, train, plane, whatever, they go out and reconstruct the scene. Why? So they can understand what the hell happened, so they can put in measures to rectify, to prevent it from happening again. And so I think on the scale of human beings, Genesis represents a supreme, no pun intended, it represents a supreme opportunity for us to what happened, see where we screwed up, how our first parents screwed up. We didn't have anything to do with it, but we are the beneficiaries. Just as, if your parents died and they left you a last will and testament and left you $1 million, for example, or let's say $50,000. I think most people would appreciate $50,000 being willed to them. Genesis leaves us a lot more. It explains our origin, what happened, and how we can make amends with each other and God, which are very, very important, by the way. These are true treasures when properly understood. So we left off at Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, and I think this is one of the saddest chapters in the Bible, because we see where our first parents living in paradise. Eden means delight or paradise. Our first parents were in paradise, and they lost it. And they lost it for a very stupid reason. And I think, again, as I said, I would like to see us recapture some of what was lost by properly understanding what was lost and how it was lost. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And also I wanted to ask you, if you were Adam in the Garden of Eden, would you have eaten from the forbidden fruit, knowing you as well as you know you, just as a person right now? If you could take a quantum leap back, being the same person that you are now, would you?
Well, that's an excellent question, Debbie, and that's why I guess serendipitously we are pitted here. I'm going to say no, and maybe some people, whoa, wait a minute, how can you say no? Well, I'm going to say no, because I think it was John Milton that said, and he wrote Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, which is an epic work, by the way. Man was created sufficient to stand, but free to fall. That's very important. Sufficient to stand, but free to fall. So when God told Adam and Eve, by the way, he told both of them. Both of them had the truth, and we'll see Eve stating the truth. So in answer to your question, no, I would not have done it. Adam didn't have to do it either. That's the point. That's the whole point of culpability. And that's a term that's used in law oftentimes, and it just means accountability, responsibility. You're culpable, blameworthy for what you have done. So when God told Adam, don't do this, he only gave him one command, just one, uno. And so my response to your question, I guess I'm answering it threefold, would be no. I wouldn't have done it. I would have trusted God. Eve could have called upon God. Well, first of all, it would have, the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And we'll see why Eve did what she did. We'll go over that in meticulous detail. And I guarantee you it was something that she could have avoided. God doesn't give us a test that we can't pass. That would be stupid. So that's just like you wouldn't give your kids a test they couldn't pass. You love your kids. You wouldn't put them in jeopardy, No. I mean, you. In other words, you wouldn't play games with them. You wouldn't trick them. And neither did God trick Adam and Eve. So the answer again is...
How much of a big deal did God make about not eating off of the tree? I'm asking questions that I know that people out there are going to have. Although I may know the answer, this is the difference in somebody who knows how to do talk radio and somebody who doesn't know how to do talk radio. I don't serve myself here. I serve the audience. Did he put signs everywhere? Don't eat from this tree. Did he give him consequences? Do you remember? I mean, have we hit on that yet? And did he make a big deal out of it? Or did he just say, okay, have a good time, and by the way, don't eat of that tree? I mean...
Absolutely, and I'm pulling up the text right now, but in Genesis chapter 2, and you may have it available, he told Adam not to eat from the tree of life, from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And there was also the tree of life. So we have two trees. They were commanded. Actually, we have three types of trees. We have the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We have the tree of life. And we have all the other trees. The tree of knowledge of good and evil, and the tree of life are two special trees. These are special trees with tremendous moral implication. And, of course, they were herbivores. They were complete vegetarians at that particular...
I want to interrupt you just for a moment. I don't do this too often. He told Adam... It says in Genesis 2, verse 15, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work and take care of it. And the Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat it, you will certainly die. Eve hasn't even been born yet. So in my research last week, throughout the week, I'm certainly not questioning God by any means, but it doesn't seem to me that Eve was warned about this, because then it says, for Adam had no suitable helper was found, so the Lord caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. That comes afterwards. So he told Adam, don't do this. Do we know that Adam told Eve this, or what? I mean... did I stump you there, Mr. Solution?
Well, I'm probably easy to stump, but you haven't done it so far. And that's a very good question, by the way. That's an absolutely grand question. We can see, if we're looking at this is a legal book, by the way. The whole Bible, this is the Old Testament, so it's a legal book, so it is law. Let's just go to it and see what the woman says. Let's just get her testimony. If you look in Genesis chapter 3, verse 2, in answer to your question, the woman said to the serpent, it was only two of them, so she meant herself and Adam.
Back up one more. Now the serpent, start with the first verse, if you don't mind, please.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem at all. The fall, chapter 3 of Genesis, verse 1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" Okay, now that was the question. Now she responds to that question in answer to your question of her knowledge this way. The woman said to the serpent, "We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die." So right there, if that is a competent answer to your question, she had full knowledge without any shadow of a doubt. She knew what the prohibition was. Now, after reading that, is there any question in your mind as to her level of knowledge?
I just wish it would have read, the woman said to the serpent, "Well, Adam told me that we may eat from the trees of the garden, but God did," because it's a little confusing to me because, as I said earlier, she wasn't around when God gave the order. But I'm sure we're just to assume that Adam told her that, correct? I mean,
well, right? I love this. Now, what I would ask you to do, yes. First of all, in answer to your question, yes. But I make this point in discussing this particular issue, which I have many times before. The accurate transmission of truth does not diminish it. I'll repeat. The accurate transmission of truth does not diminish it. Adam telling her was the same as God telling her. Why do we want to differentiate? What is the purpose of drawing the distinction?
There's really no purpose other than just, I thought it was a point that was brought up at one time during a discussion that I was involved in. I think it's perfectly fine. Besides, the serpent speaks first. He's the one that comes out and says, you must not eat from any tree in the garden, huh? And I think that sometimes, people say snakes don't talk. Well, okay, let me explain something, people. First of all, God taught in parables. This is not it happening. This is an account of what went on. Perhaps the woman had a negative thought in her brain. That sometimes can be the way Satan speaks to you. Okay? Perhaps there really was a talking snake. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I know what I read. But I do know this. I do know that God teaches in parables. And that being said, you just have to decide for yourself. Somebody also said in the...
Well, wait a minute. Before you go there, if you don't mind, allow me to deal with that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is not a parable. This is a narrative. Okay, this is not a parable. A parable is obviously a parallel lesson where one is to draw a conclusion. And
but I'm answering questions that are just killing me. Like, if that snake could talk, why can't other snakes talk?
Okay, but wait a minute. Before we get to the snake talking, okay, now we know the snake was empowered to do that. The snake in some way, the serpent, let's just use the technical name, loaned itself to demon possession or the possession by the devil. The serpent was a creature of God. If we go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. Now, there's a whole study on the serpent. I'm not going to go into it now. But the serpent was a special creature, not completely man-like, or, not rising to the level of being human, of course. But the snake was special. And the snake wanted to be more. what we're looking at here is gargantuan greed. And we're looking at greed to the point to where it allowed itself to be the entity that was greedy, namely the serpent here, allowed that greed to reach a level of deception. And that is the same thing that the woman ultimately did, is allowed a liar to plant lies and for them to sprout and grow to the level.
Hey guys, this is Debbie. I'm going to take a quick break from the audio. I know there's some people out there listening, and I'm going to take a quick break. And we're going to go back to listening to Lewis Black. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
And yet every Sunday, I turn on the television set. And there's a priest or a pastor reading from my book. And interpreting it. And their interpretations, I have to tell you, are usually wrong. And it's not their fault, because it's not their book. You never see a rabbi on TV interpreting the New Testament, do you? If you want to truly understand the Old Testament, if there's something you don't quite get, there are Jews who walk among you. And they, I promise you this, will take time out of their very Jewy day. And interpret for you anything that you're having trouble understanding, and we will do that if, of course, the price is right. Was the earth created in 7 days? No. For those of you who believe it was, for you Christians, let me tell you, then you do not understand the Jewish people. We Jews understand that it did not take place in 7 days, and that's because we know what we're good at. And what we're really good at is bullshit. This is a wonderful story that was told to the people in the desert in order to distract them from the fact that they did not have air conditioning. I would love to have the faith to believe that it took place in 7 days, but I have thoughts. And that can really fuck up the faith thing. Just ask any Catholic priest. And then there are fossils. Whenever anybody tries to tell me that they believe it took place in 7 days, I reach for a fossil and go, fossil. And if they keep talking, I throw it just over their head. There are people who believe that dinosaurs and men lived together, that they roamed the earth at the same time. There are museums that children go to in which they build dioramas to show them this. And what this is, purely and simply, is a clinical psychotic reaction. They are crazy. They are stone cold fuck nuts. I can't be kind about this, because these people are watching the Flintstones as if it were a documentary. Now, there is a big difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and that is the New Testament God is really kind of a great guy. He is. Especially when you compare him to the Old Testament God, who is a prick. I don't know what happened to God, over time. How he matured, if he went to an anger management class. Or maybe just the birth of a son calmed him down. But before he had the kid, holy fuck, he was out of control. All you got to do is read the Old Testament. It's unbelievable. Look at Abraham, the first man to have faith in one God. And what does God do? Hey, Abraham, come here. Come here. Bring your kids. Let's barbecue them. Moses spends his life, crosses the desert with them, 40 years devoting to his people to get them out of Egypt, across the desert to the promised land. And God goes, hey, Mo, you're not getting in. Kiss my ass. Oh, there's a guy you want to work for. The reason that the Old Testament God is a prick was because the Old Testament is designed as a book to get the Jews to straighten up and fucking fly right. Because they were out of control. They were 10 hairs away from being baboons. And that's the point when I do that in the South, that you can hear the veritable fucking pin drop. Figure it out, okay? You watch Jerry Springer. That's what we're like now. Imagine what they were like then. They needed rules. They needed to know that marriage takes place between a man and a woman. Because they were wandering into camp with camels going, I'm in love. I don't give a shit what you are. You can't marry a snapping turtle, asshole. But it's not good enough for our president that it's written in the Bible. He felt it was just an imperative that we have to put it in the Constitution, and so do many states. Because apparently we heterosexuals have reached a point we're so fucked up that we better write it down in case we forget who we're supposed to marry. It's unbelievable. It's in the book already. What, do you need to print it? Are you crazy? But in the midst of all of our problems, that was the most important thing to him. We have no energy policy. None whatsoever.
Hey guys, here I am live with you now on the air, and I'm on Skype right now with somebody talking, and there's people calling me, people talking to me, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually on Skype with Lester right now. Say hi, Lester. Lester.
Hello, hello, hello.
And I've been talking to Derek, I've been talking to Chris, I've been talking to Goose, I've been talking to all these people, but Lester sent an audio to us tonight, and I thought I would play it before I get back to Mr. Solution's going to say, but you were playing our audio. And I know, and everybody was listening to that. We'll get back to that just a second. Let me find that audio. And it's supposed to be pretty funny. I have not heard it, so this is what you call just cutting off your nose here to spite your face. So here we go with, it's entitled Lester Blooper. I think this is going to be good. All right, now they're going to be able to hear us, so go on mute. Here we go, everybody.
Oh, get down, clown. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Heard wait. You were so stupid.
when you make mistakes, you always go.
See, I can't stand when I do radio and stuff like that. And if I do drops, I was trying to do a drop for you. And when I do drop, I want them to be perfect. So when I fuck up, I get so mad at myself. You'll see.
The other day, he was signing off the air, and he goes, "This is Lester, and from me to yours, have a great day until I see you next time." And he gets off and he goes, "Next time." Yeah. Okay, here we go. We're going to open it up in iTunes. Here we go.
Oh, get down, clown. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Let me start that over. I don't even know what I started with. You see, here we go. Get down, clown. This is Lester Bartholomew Jones from the radio show Lester Live. Fuck me, what the fuck? This is what happens when you start smoking weed, I think.
You even fucked up the word Bartholomew that time.
I'm going to count myself in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, get down, clown. Oh, fuck me. Here we go.
Now you've got your giggle box turned over.
Count it in. 3, 2, 1. And I don't want to start it off with, hello, get down, clown. That's stupid. Okay, here we go.
That's stupid.
Why don't you count me in?
You count it in. I'm just recording and watching the settings.
I'll count myself in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, men and women.
It's getting worse, Lester. Boys and girls. And then you say nobody under the age of 18. What?
You're right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're right.
Me. Okay, here we go. You know, this shit just makes it hard to stay on focus. That's what I'm thinking. The pain's better.
This is great.
All right, here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively. All right, here we go.
Lester, this is the best audio. You remind me of Blind Melon Chitlin. Remember?
Go. Count it in. I'm ready. I'm going to rock and roll this time. I'll cut it this one time. We're not even going to have to do anything to it. It's so good. I know. Here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I know that any time that I've gotten myself into kind of a fuck you.
This is great.
Count it in. 3, 2. What the fuck? I did that it's offensive thing. That was just crazy. I did that in one fucking take. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Of the radio show Lester Live. Heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I don't even know what the fuck I was going to say. Oh, I was going to talk about Debi. All right, count it in. 3, 2. I've been going on for like 3 minutes here. I can't get a fucking 60-second spot in 3 goddamn minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? All right, here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio.
Lester, I think you might have got power from your hair.
Oh, my God.
I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
Radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I know that any time that I have gotten myself into a precarious situation on the radio, anytime I have said things that there's no return from, anytime I feel like I've lost control of my radio show, I call Debi Daly of the Debi Daly radio show. Yep, she comes to my rescue. So here's what I'm thinking. Any of you guys out there, any of you gals out there that are feeling bad about yourself, you've kind of just, life has just dealt you a fucking keep going. Life has just dealt you a shit sandwich. You tune in to the Debi Daily radio show, heard on Oh, fuck me.
You go, keep going. And then you fuck up again.
Okay, wait a minute. We're going to piece this together. That's what we're going to do. Heard exclusively on Spreaker.com and on iHeart.com. I guess iHeartRadio. Heard exclusively on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio. You tune in to her and you will feel better about yourself, your life, and you'll just be happy because it's a good show. Fuck me, but that's just horrible.
You'll just be happy. What the fuck does that mean?
It was horrible.
You're an idiot. I love this.
Piece all that together. So from me and mine to you and yours, this is Lester Bartholomew Jones wishing you and yours the very best. And I hope you find everything
that you've lost.
Get this. Watch this.
Okay.
Fuck me. You know what? It just dawned on me. I said heard exclusively, and then what did I do? I named 2 different platforms. There's no exclusivity to that, right? Fuck it. Just tune into her fucking show. 10-4. Roger Wilco. Over and fucking out.
Roger Wilco. Fuck, that's horrible. I love that.
It was horrible.
Oh my gosh. It's funny that Victor takes a lot of pride in making, what do you want to call it? Just drops for my show. That was excellent, Lester. He makes little things for my show here and there, blah, blah, blah. Well, he was all excited. He says, hey, I made a clip out of the show that you guys did the other night. And I said, oh, okay. What was it? And he said, well, just here, take a listen to it. And he handed it to me, and I listened to it after and I listened to it, and it is so horrible. I was going to show it to you. It's here. Where the hell is it? It's called, I know where it's at. It's not quite as funny as that, but it's so, he took the worst part of a show I think that he could have put on for clips. Where the hell is it? I don't see it now. It was on here earlier. Now it's not here. Well, hell, what the fudge? It's not here. Oh, well, it was funny. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was. I swear to God, it was funny. And it was the part when we were talking about when Mr. Solution starts saying, oh, here it is. Here it is. This is awful. Listen.
I feel like a smoothie now. Perhaps a banana strawberry smoothie with perhaps some peanut butter.
That sounds pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like almond milk. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know why. I might try it again, though. It's healthy.
Actually, well, I can't really drink regular milk because it gives me the shits.
Oh, it gets worse. Don't hold back. It gets worse. It gets worse. Listen.
Oh my God.
Back, Louie. Be honest with us.
I guess it's a thing. Cow's milk has blood, pus, and excrement in it.
Shut up. I drink it all the time. I mean, I sound all whiny and I drink it all the time. And I'm like going, what the crap? And then he made this one called Almond Clips. I don't know what this is. I haven't actually heard this one yet. Is it that goddamn bad, people? And that's going to be a clip. Are you kidding me? I'm going, what? I said, I'm sorry, but I can't do that.
I thought it was funny, though.
That was, you don't think it's like too gross? Oh, it's horrible. It gets worse after
like
this.
A smoothie now.
Milk is delicious, and it doesn't have pus or crap.
Oh my God. That is just gross. I'm sorry, that is just gross. That was so I thought I was going to lose it laughing. I'm going to listen to that again. I'm going to listen to it nonstop all the way through. Here's the clip that Dodo Head just did. I love that. Here we go. It's 5.
I never did even get the dropper done right. I just gave up. I figured
I've done that before. Do you remember?
Not under the influence of anything.
Remember Blind Melon Chitlin? We were talking the other day about Cheech and Chong. It reminds me of Blind Melon Chitlin. Was it Blind Melon Chitlin?
Yeah, something like that.
Blind.
That's the one where he goes, "I'm going downtown.
Down, gonna see my gal," and then he. But they go. They stop it over and over and over and over.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's Blind Melon Chitlin. And tell me if that doesn't remind you of what we just heard. Listen to this. It's really great. I haven't heard this thing in God even know when.
Oh, good morning, JR.
Good morning. Who we got in the studio today?
Studio B.
Lester Bartholomew Jones.
Blind Melon Chitlin. Isn't that new British rock group?
Oh, no, JR. That's the old blues singer that you signed the other day, remember?
Oh, yeah. That's the one we gave the $10 the bottle of booze and the hooker to, huh?
That's the one, JR.
Yeah, well, let's get going. I feel like solid gold already.
Right you are.
Is that him in the studio?
That's him.
All right. Mr. Chitlin. Mr. Chitlin. What? He ain't deaf, too, is he?
No, JR. You have to push the switch forward.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just want to see if you knew. Listen, Mr. Chitlin! Mr. Chitlin, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
All right, baby. Hey, listen, Mr. Chitlin, can I call you by your first name?
Yeah.
All right. Listen, now, Blind Baby, what we want to go for on this record is not just a blues record, but we want a document. An epic document depicting the struggle of the black people against the white devil slave masters. You got that? Can you understand? What the hell? What's the drummer's name? Johnny? Johnny! Want to give him a push there? Tap him on there, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Chitlin, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, Blind Baby. Pay a little more attention now, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So we want to start from the top, Blind Baby, and really cook, honey. All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, hit it. Oh, cut. Johnny, want to find him his harmonica? Yeah, that's it. Put it in his hand there. Okay, Blind Baby, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, let's try it with a harmonica this time, okay, honey?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take it from 4 and really burn, all right?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, cook. What kind of cockamamie stuff is that? Hold it! Cut! Now listen, Blind Baby, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, listen, what we want is a little more enunciating. The kids today are hung up on the lyrics. They like to listen to the words. I don't know why. But listen, baby, a little more enunciating, okay? We want a little bit more clear. You got that, baby?
Yeah.
All right, let's take it from the top now. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, hit it! Cut. Blind Baby. The thumping's coming through. So, hey, listen, can we get him to take off his shoes or something?
He already has his shoes off, JR.
Look like rubber boots to me. Okay, never mind, Blind Baby. All right, let's take it from the top again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, burn!
Go down, go see my girl.
Yeah, I guess we can get a dance record out of this.
Go downtown, gonna see my girl.
Yeah, that old natural rhythm's going right in it.
Gonna sing a song.
Yeah, singing that old song.
I'm gonna show my ding dong.
Yeah, show that old ding dong. Hey, stop! Cut! Blind Baby. Listen, I'm not too clear on the lyrics there that you just used, so let's go back, huh? Maybe it's my fault. Listen, I'll read you what I got, okay? Going downtown, gonna see my gal, gonna sing her a song, gonna show her my ding-dong. That's right, ding-dong. Blind Baby, what the hell's this ding-dong?
I think he's gonna show you, JR.
All right, let me show him.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Jesus Christ, will you look at the size of that thing?
We'll never get that on the album
We'll never get
cover.
that on the album cover.
And I don't know why that this reminds me of that, because I think you're taking over. No, it's just funny. Here we go again. I got to hear this all the way through with no interruptions. I promise I will not stop it.
Okay.
Here's Lester's blooper.
Oh, get down, clown. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Let me start that over. I don't even know what I started with. You see, here we go. Get down, clown. This is Lester Bartholomew Jones from the radio show Lester Live. Fuck me, what the fuck? This is what happens when you start smoking weed, I think. Let's do this one more time. I'm going to count myself in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, get down, clown. Oh, fuck me. Here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. And I don't want to start it off with, hello, get down, clown. That's stupid. Okay, here we go. Why don't you count me in?
You count it in. I'm just recording and watching the settings.
I'll count myself in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, men and women. Oh, fuck me. Okay, here we go. You know, this shit just makes it hard to stay on focus. That's what I'm thinking. The pain's better.
You'll get it.
All right, here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively. All right, here we go. Count it in. I'm ready. I'm going to rock and roll this time. I'll cut it this one time. We're not even going to have to do anything to it. It's so good. I know. Here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I know that any time that I've gotten myself into kind of a fuck you. Count it in. 3, 2. What the fuck? I did that it's offensive thing that was just crazy. I did that in one fucking take. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Fuck it, keep going. Of the radio show Lester Live. Heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I don't even know what the fuck I was going to say. Oh, I was going to talk about Debi. All right, count it in. 3, 2. I've been going on for like 3 minutes here. I can't get a fucking 60-second spot in 3 goddamn minutes. Are you fucking kidding me? All right, here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I know that any time that I have gotten myself into a precarious situation on the radio, anytime I have said things that there's no return from, anytime I feel like I've lost control of my radio show, I call Debi Daly of the Debi Daly radio show. Yep, she comes to my rescue. So here's what I'm thinking. Any of you guys out there, any of you gals out there that are feeling bad about yourself, you've kind of life has just dealt you a fucking keep going. Life has just dealt you a shit sandwich. You tune in to the Debi Daly radio show, heard on Oh, fuck me. Okay, wait a minute. We're going to piece this together. That's what we're going to do. Heard exclusively on Spreaker.com and on iHeart.com. I guess iHeartRadio. Heard exclusively on Spreaker.com and iHeartRadio. You tune in to her and you will feel better about yourself, your life, and you'll just be happy because it's a good show. Fuck me. But that's just horrible. But we can piece all that together. So from me and mine to you and yours, this is Lester Bartholomew Jones wishing you and yours the very best. And I hope you find everything Fuck me. You know what? It just dawned on me. I said heard exclusively, and then what did I do? I named 2 different platforms. There's no exclusivity to that, right? Fuck it. Just tune into her fucking show. 10-4. Roger Wilco. Over and fucking out. Let me have that.
What did you say at the end? Let me have that? Is that what you said? Were you talking to your board op? And you're muted again.
Oh, I was just sitting here talking away.
You're Mr. Midnight Movie.
Yeah.
Mr. Midnight Movie.
Anyway, that was horrible, and I...
It's funny. I was losing it. That's actually very funny.
Can you believe that? And then I didn't even get the drop right.
Did you ever do the drop? Did you ever do it?
I think I did. Where did I?
It should start with this.
I think I should have run bed music under it and be the fucking clown music at the circus.
Oh, absolutely. That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
We used to do that on my show whenever certain people would call in. We had circus music. I don't remember what we did with it, but we had the most insulting circus music on my show back on Blog Talk Radio. I should bring more stuff over. I was actually known on Blog Talk Radio for giving people bonks. Have you ever heard of my bonks?
No, I mean, what is a bonk?
Well, when you were being a mullet, you would get a bonk.
Ah. Is it like a sound effect?
Yes. Did you hear the bonk?
I heard something.
Boink. It was pretty funny.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, that was good. I definitely got my laugh out on that one. That was good.
Now you and Mr. Solution are doing this deal about Genesis.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when did you originally do this show?
This one aired September 13th of 2013. The one that we're listening to.
Okay.
Yeah, No, my bad. It was, is it this one that we're listening to?
No, I don't think anybody...
No, it must be the September 15th.
She acted upon a complete deception.
Yeah, September the 13th, 2013. So almost, a year and a half ago, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. We did an entire series of that. It's pretty interesting to listen to Mr. Solution talk about. He really knows how to explain things in the Bible really, really well, I think.
Well, I do too.
In my opinion.
I do too.
People were saying last night that they wish that, we could bring it back. And I would be more than happy to do that. And I think he sort of made it clear that he would be willing to do that too. So.
Well, then maybe you should think about scheduling that.
Yeah, just on Sunday nights I would. I'd love to. We had so many people that were learning so many things about the Bible. We went through the entire book of Job in the very beginning, and Job was interesting. I'd never known about the book of Job, to be honest with you. I've just had heard of it. I thought it was called Job. And that was a weird book, a story of a man that loses everything he owns, and it tests his faith in God. And it shows you how he comes out of it. And to listen to Mr. Solution teach on it was just amazing.
Let me ask you a question about that. A guy loses everything that he's got, and you say it tested his. Was that an intentional test by God?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yes. It's very weird. He told the devil. It starts out with. God was speaking with Satan, the fallen angel, and he said, so what's been happening or whatever? And he goes, I've been cruising around earth, trying to get your people. And he said, have you seen my child Job? And he said, God described Job as the most perfect human in the world. And he said, not if I can get a hold of him, he won't be. And he said, I dare you. He said, Job will never, ever turn on me no matter what you do. And he said, you can do anything you want, but don't. He killed his children. He killed his wife. He killed all of his animals. He burned down his house. He caused Job and Job never once stopped loving God. And so when it was all, and even the story goes that these 3 friends of Job's came over to his house and said, are you crazy? Screw God, curse God. And he never would. And I think it was included in this album. No, I think it was included in the Bible to teach people a big lesson.
And what would that lesson be?
Well, that if everything starts going wrong, don't blame God. Keep your faith strong, because at the very end, God gives him back another wife. They have more children. He gives him back twice what he had. My headphones are falling off because my hair's wet. Gunner's looking at me. He he keeps his faith, and he gives everything back to him.
Well, okay, and I get that, but if that was a message, I'm just playing devil's advocate here for a minute. If that was a message to people not to blame God, you've kind of got to blame God for that, because all of a sudden this guy became a chip in a wager that God decided to make with whoever, Satan or whoever it is. And the way I see it, that became, if God hadn't done that, he said, you can do anything you want to this guy,
but don't lay one hand on him.
Don't lay one hand on him, but do anything you want to this guy. In other words, he gave him carte blanche.
Mm-hmm. And we talk about that, and I go into great detail of giving my hardcore opinion on how I thought it was horrible. And,
I do think it's horrible. And I don't know as much as you and Solution know about it.
Well, let me tell you, Solution puts it in very understandable terms, and he made a hell of a lot of sense. And
but do you know what does anything though that I said make sense from a layman's point of view?
Yes, and that's what
seems like to
everybody
me.
was saying. That everybody was going, "Wow, what an asshole!" What an asshole to sell him out like that. And,
but if the message is don't blame God, you got to blame God for that deal.
I know, it's weird.
I mean, in my mind, you do. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just don't get I get that the Bible is full of all kinds of lessons, and I get that. But to me, that just seems like a horrible lesson.
It's pretty tough.
That God is willing to toy with you.
I think this was the first one. It says, Debbie and Mr. Solution take on the book of Job. Let me see if this is number 1.
Hey, it's Flo, and here's my impression of a reality TV star explaining progressive discounts.
What the hell is
I was
that?
talking to Greg, and he said that daily.
If you care to.
All right, here we go, everybody. Job 15. We're going to be hearing, first of all, from one of his buddies, Eliphaz. All right, he's going to get...
We're already at Job 15, which would mean... that would have started... Wait a minute, I think this is it. Number 1. Oh, I have to download it first. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'll tell you what, really crazy. We started it when George Jones died, it looks like, because the night before or 2 days before I did a show about George Jones, King George, and him dying, so it looks like. And then I have Debbie and Laszlo do the Daily Quagmire. That was cute. That was a show we did. He was going to take that to terrestrial radio. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and then he had to move for, unbeknownst to him, some circumstances that came up with his wife. His wife got very sick, and he had to take her back home to California to live with her and her mom. His wife was, she weighed like 400 pounds.
What?
And, yeah, she did. It was really sad. She was one of those kind of people that was bedridden and stuff. She was just sweet as pie and loved me to death, but she got really, really sick, and it was kind of sad. Okay, let me check and see. I think this is number 1.
O'Reilly. The weather's getting warmer, and that means it's time to start working on your yard.
Oh, that's when I had sponsors. Let me go forward. Hold on.
Break.
I think this is an intro I did. I don't remember. Hi,
this is Deputy from the Debi Daily Show.
I have an echo. Maybe it was on my show. Let's see. No, somebody did this for me.
Every time I break off one of my fingers.
Wonder why that's echoing. Let me go forward and see what we're doing here. Hold on.
I love Monkey Shoes. You know, I really do. And I appreciate the fail trolled attempt of my nemesis, Moxie, the older woman out there that has dedicated her twilight years to trolling.
Oh, my God.
Her twilight years. Let's go forward. That means she was in the chat room.
Oh.
Okay, let's see where we're at here.
Poor Moxie. It's a diesel.
In fact, what I'd like to do, I think, if you don't mind, if you will open with, or however, I was thinking of opening with Dr. Weinberg's statement.
Oh, God, he loves Dr. Weinberg.
One about truth.
I'm going forward again.
Please elaborate on what you think Dr. Weinberg meant about that. That's my one part I'm blurry on.
Oh, well, I know exactly what he meant.
For ourselves, we can find things to cherish that we've gained from their toil.
I
have seen the burden God has. I must leave them to the one who comes after.
There is no meaning.
I'm trying to see if I'm at Job 1, everybody.
Really
They're going, what are you doing? Hold on.
It's being a child all your life. You know, fantasy, living in a fantasy, because nothing is real. You know that nothing is real. If you take the pure atheistic perspective. But you'll see, although Solomon speaks this way about the meaning.
I'll do with pleasure to find out what is good, but that also proved to be meaningless. Laughter, I said, is madness. And what does pleasure...
That's not Job 1. That's like Job something else. Oh, okay. Let's see. Where is Job 1, Mr. Solution? When did we... Wait a minute. Here's one on April 17th of 2013. Here's one on April 14th of 2013. The study of the book of Job. Here's another one on April 10th of 2013. And April 7th of 2013. This is when we started. I know it was.
By claiming that.
Are you in my BTR chat room as a guest or anything, Mr. Solution? Because I can drop the link to this, and perhaps you can watch it and maybe call his show tomorrow.
No, I can actually see your chat room.
Okay. Have you had a chance, Mr. Solution, to see any of the new series on the
site? I was there, and I can see I can see links there. Yes, behavior on the aggregate. I mean, there are...
Well, let's look and see. What does righteousness mean?
Hey, check out Job. I love that little guy. It's as if Satan has forgotten completely about Job altogether. It was God who brought him up. So say...
But I've always said that when it comes to children, you don't judge a painter by what they say. You judge a painter by their painting. Well, Kim's getting ready to pull the cord on that deal.
They don't actually...
That, people... omnipotent, whatever you want to say. What is that word? You're the word master, Mr. Solutions. That Acts 2:17 says, and in
actually did it. That would have appeared to be.
I think this is going to be a good one, and this definitely is book number 1 of Job, because I went back. No, it's not. Here's one on March 29th. Oh my God, when did we start this? That's got to be all. Mr. Solution. Yeah, that's it. That is it right there. The great debate between Mr. Solution and Jewish producer. Okay, that's it. It starts on whatever I just got through saying. March, what did I say?
29th.
29th? Thank you. March 29th. Mr. Solution and Debi. Okay, here it is. Discuss the book of Job, and it says... Listen in as Debi and Mr. Solution talk about some serious issues. So there you go. It's really fascinating. The book of Job it's very interesting. It starts out with, like I said, God just basically, like you said, I never really thought about it like that, but God just basically gambles away Job with, with the dark forces over there.
Right. I mean, it does sound like that. I saw something that Stabby wrote just a second ago.
Oh, I didn't look. Did I? Is my chat room going?
Yeah. And I saw something that Stabby wrote. Let's see. Well, anyway, basically he said that never mind all the people's lives and all of their suffering. It was all about Job getting something more. And I guess that message is what they wanted to. Wait a minute, right here it is.
Job's children and wives' lives don't matter. All that matters is that Job had more sons and had another wife and more cattle, but those others did not have a choice. Yeah, it's pretty, it's a pretty weird book.
Yeah. I mean, with me, I look at stuff like that.
No, we're live. We're live,
why.
RD. We're live. What's today, Les?
Today is April the 13th, 2015 at 1:58 a.m. Central Standard Time. Yeah.
I did watch some of those things that you put in the chat last night, Stabathan, and it's there's some stories, Lester, throughout time that parallel the entire Bible, the creation, Jesus, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But they just have different names, different names, different actors or whatever. It's kind of interesting. I think what that means, in my own personal opinion, I think it means that it's all true. It's just different versions of it. You know what I mean?
But some of those books, some of those writings, some of the rules set forth, like who is Buddha associated with?
They're the Chinese people.
The Buddhism stuff.
Buddha,
right?
Chinese,
yeah. Right. They set forth a group of what they called precepts that basically 500 years before Christ died, they set a set of precepts that basically is the same thing as the Ten Commandments. There's some differences in some of them.
Not a lot. I mean, there was like this. Stabby showed me this one thing one time a couple of years ago that was the story of Osiris or something, and he had a son that was born through a virgin, and he did this, and it was just like the same story. It's kind of weird or something. I don't remember if that's what it was.
But
Excuse me.
I agree that there's a lot of stuff out there that's...
it runs parallel to what the Bible teaches.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up, RD. The Buddhism. He says the Buddhism people. Doesn't that sound intelligent?
Well, I don't know what they're called. I was just trying to...
RD's nice.
Buddhist.
I like RD.
I guess Buddhist, right?
Right, I guess
there's
Buddhist.
A Buddhist religion and a Buddhist lifestyle.
Job 1 says, in the land of Oz, it's Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and he shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camel, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man in all of the East. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink. When a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to be purified. Early in the morning, he would sacrifice a burnt offering to each one of them. One day, the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came along with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered, "From roaming around the earth, going back and forth on it." The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands so that his flocks and his herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to Satan, "Very well then. Everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." And then Satan left. And then it gets wicked. It starts getting crazy. What?
I just read something in your chat room.
What?
RD wrote, Satan announced she's running for president.
Satan is a newer stand. What did you call him, and what is your old thing talking called him, Stabby? Not Satan, but what? And I know we're on a delay here.
Yeah.
I thought Satan was already in office. Yeah. You're probably right.
Yeah. I think they're pretty much.
This is funny. Annette says, "Hi, RD!" Exclamation point! Exclamation point! And RD says, "Wow, did I deserve 3 exclamation marks? I feel kind of special now." Stabby says, "You are special." And special needs, you mean? And these guys, Dave, my nephew, said to me last night or some night, I forgot when, on the on the text, he said, "You know something, Debbie? I really like those guys in your chat room. Those guys, those characters are funny." And they are. They make the show funny. They just reading what they write, because they all just call each other this and call each other that, and they're just horrible to each other. Yeah. Apocalypse left a message on one of my shows the other day. I did a show for Ask Debbie, and it was about my boyfriend is acting strange, and there was one message left, and it says, and I quote, "Thank you for answering my questions about my boyfriend Stabby." Apocalypse. He was dead serious. And they are just so horrible to each other, but I think it just makes me laugh for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I just had a question about that, though. For some reason, it just seems to me that Satan was just a gambling chip for God, or that Job was just a gambling chip for God, and he made some kind of a wager with Satan or whoever you want to call him. And it didn't matter about anything, because the justification to all of it, or the lesson that we are to gather from that.
Stabby says, "Hey, RD, have you been sitting here watching me chat to myself?" Poor Stabby.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I know exactly what you're saying. And
it
actually,
just doesn't seem. The lesson is if you. I don't know what the lesson is. That he got another wife, more kids, and more cattle, and that was all good.
Okay, Lester, let me ask you this: if you suddenly lost everything you owned, wouldn't you be prone to say, "God, who"?
I don't know. It would be, if I lost everything I own, it would be due to something I did.
Well, no, but what if it wasn't? What if all of a sudden somebody came and burned down your house, and it just so happened you forgot to renew the insurance or whatever? We'll just make shit up.
That would be on me. Right. Go ahead.
Well, let's say everything happened to you and it really wasn't your fault. Let's say an earthquake comes or something.
I got you. I know what you're saying.
Wouldn't you be tempted to say, "Where is God in all of this? What happened to God?"
You know, I don't know, because you see, when I hear somebody saying that God bailed them out of a situation, I look at that, and I look at 6 billion people, and God had time to pull this guy out of a situation.
But see, if God makes everything wonderful for everybody, that's not us. That's heaven. If he saves everybody and everybody's happy and everybody's healthy, then that's not where we're at right now. This is like a testing period. This is, if in fact we are due to live forever in the kingdom, as spirits, then our worth is being judged on how we behave not how we behave, but how we keep the faith down here and how we respond to things, I think.
So in other words, he can't make it good for everybody, so he just takes a select few and says that this is going to be good for you. You're going to just be a piece of shit that's going to be living under a fucking bridge, and this guy's going to be this and that. I just, for some reason, I just think that we need to be responsible for ourselves and quit trying to blame God, or quit trying to say that the devil made me do it, and I just don't get it.
And I think you're right about that. I totally agree. I don't think it's right to blame any of your actions on anything, unless maybe you're 4 years old, but we're not 4 years old. But I think, my personal opinion, if you really want to know what I think about it, I think we're pretty much all going to go to the next dimension. But I think that for some reason, if you believe in the Creator and the events that have transpired prior to this, I believe that we will be placed in different, almost like areas of heaven or something. Like there'll be like God Street, where there's this big house and I don't know. I don't even know what I'm
I know
what
I kind of get the idea. Yeah.
You know what I mean? They say that servant will be master to whatever in heaven or whatever. They say to be kind to everybody because you never know when you're meeting an angel. I'm going to check on the chat room now. Stabby says,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Stabby says evil is a man-made concept based on harm. It's not good or bad. We decide as a whole what is evil. Some don't agree, but causing the least amount of unnecessary harm to the greatest amount of people. You really think that? And don't you think that people, Hebrew Satan means adversary, like a prosecutor. RD says, where do you think evil originates, Stabby? In our brain? And he says, yeah, pretty much. I mean, Apocalypse also will stop at no point to get into the BFC. Apocalypse. I'm sorry, I just put that in there. Satan the accuser, meaning astray, distant, sometimes devil, is a figure appearing in the text of the Abrahamic religions who brings evil and temptation and is known as the deceiver who leads humanity astray. Some religious groups teach that he has originated as an angel who fell out of favor with God, seducing humanity into the ways of sin and who has power in the fallen world. That's pretty much where I prescribe whatever I do.
But what do you suppose, since Job was rewarded for his faith in God, what do you suppose happened to his dead wife and children? Where did they end up?
Oh, Mr. Solution, where are you? And I think we posed a lot of these really tough questions to Mr. Solution.
Oh, okay.
We were wearing his ass out that night about this and that and the other. And
I guess somebody may say that, well, depending on the life that they led and what their faith was and blah, blah, blah. I get that. But I'm just trying to understand how that would serve as a good lesson to anyone.
I think it did. See, and I don't know about you. I had never studied the book of Job, and I was very surprised with Stabby makes a good point. Job is the oldest book in the Bible. It's the oldest book in the Bible. Yeah.
Really?
So, it is. And it just teaches us a lesson about when the going gets rough, don't blame God or whatever. This is something that we read one time. It says, Job is the central character in the book bearing his name. He lived over 4,000 years ago, yet we still study about his life and can apply it to our own lives. Job was blameless, blah, 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 everything I told you before. Most people would think that Job had it made, but the story isn't about what Job had and what he lost. It is about what he learned through his suffering. While it is true that suffering is a major theme in the book of Job, suffering is not the real meaning of Job. Rather, the focus is on what Job learns from his suffering, and it is what Job learns about God through his suffering. You cannot talk about Job without talking about God's sovereignty. The first part of the book outlines the causes of Job's suffering. Then in chapters 3 through 37, there are many dialogues with his three friends. And the message is, Job's suffering started when Satan suggested to God that he would remain faithful only as long as everything was going good. And then God said, okay, fine, go ahead and do what you got to do. Job lost everything he had. Job did what was customary in times of mourning and suffering. In sackcloth and ashes, he sat for 7 days without speaking. He had three friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. They sat in silence with him. When Job finally spoke, his friends, one after another, tried to convince him to admit that he had sinned against God and God was punishing him. But he held on to his faith. It was not until Job comes to the end of himself that he could that he could see God for who he really was. Job had to lose everything before he could acknowledge the greatness of God, the majesty of God, and the sovereignty of God. It was only after Job acknowledged God's sovereignty and prayed for his friends did God restore everything back to Job, and double in every case except for his children, because they would marry and give Job grandchildren. There was something Job needed to know. And there was something God wanted to teach Job, and it could be done only through his suffering. God wanted to point Job to a new way to interpret life. God wanted Job to recognize that God was the creator and the sustainer of the universe. You know what? The best part of Job, when we got to the very end, is when God, well, you're probably right, Stabby, and you're probably right, RD, but the story is allegory and supposed to teach a lesson. It's not history. I even told Mr. Solution many times, I don't know that this ever really happened, but I really think it's a great story. It says, then what is the real message of Job? The real message of Job is not Job's suffering, because God would never end the story with suffering. Instead, he ends the book on a positive note. The ending of the book of Job illustrates God's sovereignty that we should focus on long after we close the Bible. But the part in Job, Lester, when God speaks is so badass. He starts bragging on himself, and he starts saying, have you ever seen the Leviathan? He talks about the crocodile. You know how a crocodile, he says you cannot pierce his skin. Nobody can put a hook in his nose. And he brags on it. He goes, have you ever seen a sunset? You know, have you ever made a sunset, Job? You know, you think you're a badass coming at me? Come the hell at me, is basically what God was saying in the last part of Job. And it's really an interesting way that God speaks to him. And he pretty much lays it out, and he just kicks his ass. And it's really funny. And then Job speaks back to God, and it's a great story. I'm sorry, it just really is.
Well, maybe it is, but I just, I don't know.
That is interesting about what would happen. I mean, what would happen to his wife and kids. I never thought about that. That's an interesting concept. Truly,
because if that wager had not been made, because what you read to me, I've never ever read Job, but what you read to me is God talked about how basically Job was infallible. He would not give in to anything. So God was complimenting what a great servant of his he was. And then once the devil, whoever, said, hey, what about this and that, and he'd turn on you in a minute, then God decided to whip out his wallet and gamble with Job's life. So I don't know. I mean, to me, it just seems like it was God was toying with him. I don't know.
Right. No, it's amazing. The most amazing part is when God speaks. He's been sitting there watching this whole dialogue between him and these three friends, and they're going back and back and back and forth and talking about this. And then finally God speaks up, and he's like, okay, I've had enough of this shit. I'm going to lay it out and tell you what's going on here. And he lays it out, and it's just amazing the way he does that.
Right.
I mean, the way he says it, it's pretty crazy. But we had more people just clamoring to get to that show when we were doing that show on Job, and it was pretty interesting.
I think that's good. And I think there's probably a lot to be learned from studying the Bible, but I still have to keep an open mind to a little bit of that stuff. I just can't accept it wholly.
I don't think God expects you to. I don't think God himself would expect you to believe some of the things. I don't think that God wants us to believe in everything. I think God wants us just to believe most. I mean, you do believe that there's a God there, do you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's all he really asks of us. I mean, we're only human, right?
Yeah, I agree. I just know that in certain situations, if you ask a preacher enough questions, he will get angry, especially if you ask him questions that he can't seem to answer. And I don't mean all preachers are that. I know that.
I never thought about it like that.
I know that. You know that I was kind of brought up by a preacher.
That's right.
And now this guy never got angry with me, but anytime I got the chance, because I don't know, maybe I could or whatever, but I would, if I had a chance to meet a preacher and then we'd start discussing things, then I would ask certain questions that I knew that there was no real good answer for. And you could tell that all of a sudden the whole conversation would turn cold. And then the pat answer is there's some things that we're not meant to know.
You know, I've said to people before that I think in the Bible that God spoke through wind and thunder, because when God answers Job in Job 38, it says, "Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind." And a whirlwind was like a tornado.
Right.
And he kicks his ass. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he says to Job right here in Job 38 when he kicks his ass.
Job 38.
Listen to this.
Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkeneth counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee, and answer thou me. Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare, if thou hast understanding. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest? Or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? When the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy? Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth, as if it had issued out of the womb? When I made the cloud the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and brake up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, Hitherto shalt thou come, but no further. And here shall thy proud waves be stayed. Hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the dayspring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to the seal.
Isn't that God? Doesn't that guy have the best voice, man?
Yeah, he does.
He got paid $500,000 to read the Bible.
$500,000. Well, that's a lot of reading, though.
Mm-hmm. Max McLean. He reads it beautifully, though.
Yeah, he does.
I like when he says, "Can you send lightning bolts? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds like thunder?" He really calls him out and says, can you do this? Can you do that? And he says, "Can you bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades or loose the bands of Orion? Have you not seen the Leviathan? He's the greatest of all beasts." And I always thought, that's cool. I never knew that, Can you count the number of months? Can you make the day? And it's just, then he says right here, this is what got me. "Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee and abide by your crib?" A unicorn. Remember that? Didn't they say that the unicorn didn't make it on Noah's Ark or something? I don't know. The Book of Job. Crazy book. An interesting book.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to get you off topic and stuff like that, but I was just curious.
Well, your audio was hysterical. I hope everybody got to hear that. It was really funny stuff.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you get back to your deal, and I'm going to get out of here, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Lester. Talk to you later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Lester Bartholomew Jones, everybody. He says right here, "Behold the Leviathan, which I made. He eateth grass like an ox. His strength is in his loins. His force is in his belly. He moveth his tail like a cedar. His stones, like the sinews of his stones, are wrapped together. His bones are as strong as pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of the ways of God. He that made him can make his sword to approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food. You know what's easier to read is the easy-to-read version Bible. And I know you're going, what? And I don't think it's an insult. It just makes it a hell of a lot easier to read. Right here it says, look at the Leviathan. I made the Leviathan, and I made you. He eats grass like a cow, but he has great strength in his body. His muscles are powerful. He stands tall. No, his tail is as strong as a cedar tree. His leg muscles are strong. His bones are like bronze and iron. He is the most amazing animal I ever made, but I can defeat him. He eats grass that grows on the hills where the animals play. He lies under the lotus plants. He hides among the reeds in the swamp. The lotus plants hide him in their shade. He lives under the willow trees that grow near the river. If the river floods, he doesn't run away. He's not afraid of the Jordan River that splashes on his face. No one can blind his eyes. No one can capture him in a trap. I mean, you have to admit a crocodile's pretty tough. Can you catch a Leviathan with a fish hook? Can you tie his tongue with a rope? Can you put a rope through his nose or a hook through his jaw? Will he beg you to let him go free? Will he speak to you with gentle words? Will he make an agreement with you and promise to serve you forever? Will you play with a Leviathan as you would play with a bird? Will you put a rope on him so that your girls can play with him? Will fishermen try to buy him from you? If you ever lay your hand on a Leviathan, you will never do it again. And just think about the battle that would be. Do you honestly think you can defeat him? You can't. Forget it. You can't. There's no hope. And if looking at him scares you, imagine looking at me. And no one can challenge me either. I owe nothing to anyone. Everything under heaven belongs to me. And I will tell you about the Leviathan's legs, his strength, and his graceful shape. No one can pierce his skin. It's like armor. No one can force him to open his jaws. His teeth in his mouth are like razors. They scare people. His back has rows of shields. They are so close together that no one can pass air between them. The shields are joined to each other. They hold together so tightly that they cannot be pulled apart. When the Leviathan sneezes, it's like lightning flashing. His eyes shine like the light of dawn. Burning torch comes out of his mouth. Sparks of fire will shoot out from his nose, like burning weeds under a boiling pot. His breath can set coals on fire. His neck is very powerful. People are afraid from him and they run from him. There is not a soft spot on his skin. It's like iron. His heart is like a rock. He has no fear. It is hard as a millstone. When he gets up, even the strongest people are afraid. They run away when he swings his mighty tail. Swords, spears, and darts bounce off him. Those weapons don't hurt him at all. He breaks iron as easily as straw. He breaks bronze like rotten wood. Arrows don't make him run away. Rocks thrown at him are as light as chaff. When a wood club hits him, it feels to him like a piece of straw. He laughs when anyone throws a spear at him. The skin on him is as sharp as broken pottery. He leaves tracks in the mud like a threshing board. He stirs up the water like a boiling pot. He makes it bubble like a pot of boiling oil. When he swims, he leaves a sparkling path behind him. He stirs up the water and makes white with foam. No animal on the earth is like him. He is an animal made without fear. He looks down on the proudest of creatures. He is the king of all beasts. And then Job says, I know you can do everything. You make plans and nothing can stop or change them. And you asked, who is this ignorant person saying all these foolish things? I talked about things I didn't understand. I talked about things that were too amazing for me to know. You said, listen and I will speak. I asked you questions and you will answer me. In the past, I heard all about you, but now I have seen you with my own eyes, and I am ashamed of myself. I am sorry. I sit in dust and ashes. And that was the last thing that was said. After the Lord finished talking to Job, he spoke to Eliphaz and Teman, and he said, I am so angry with you and your two friends because you did not tell the truth about me as my servant Job did. So now, Eliphaz, get 7 bulls and 7 rams and take them to my servant Job. Offer them as burnt offerings. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will answer his prayers. Then I will not give you the punishment that you deserve. You should be punished because you were very foolish. You did not say what was right about me as my servant Job did. So Eliphaz and Teman, Bildad and Shuah and Zophar and Naaman obeyed the Lord. Job prayed for his friends, and the Lord made Job successful once again. He gave him twice as much as he had before. Then all of his brothers and sisters and all the people who knew him before came to celebrate at his house. They all ate a big meal with him. They comforted him, and they were sorry that the Lord had brought him into so much trouble. Each person gave Job a piece of silver and gold. The Lord blessed Job with even more than he had before. He had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camel, 2,000 oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 more sons and 3 daughters. He named the first daughter Jemimah and the second daughter Kizah. He named the third daughter Karen Hapkah. Job's daughters were among the most beautiful women in the country, and like their brothers, they each had a share of their father's property. Job lived another 140 years. He lived to see his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren, and his great-great-grandchildren. Job lived to be a very old man who had a very good, long life. And see, that's what it is. It's just like Job gets down in the middle of it with God, and they sort of get into an argument about things. But people have asked me before what my favorite verse in the Bible is, and everybody knows it's Psalm 91. Psalm 91 to me is the only place in this amazing book, this beautiful piece of literature, where God actually makes us a promise. He makes us a promise to take care of us. He makes a promise, and so far in my very short life, he stood by this. I mean, and I swear, ever since I sound like Lester, ever since I used to see this in my Debi, ever since I used to see this in my grandmother's kitchen all the time, she had Psalm 91 on a plate, I guess, or something like that. I used to read it all the time, and I used to think, wow, that's amazing. And I would ask her about it, and she would tell me that this was, in fact, one of the only places in the Bible where God himself makes me a promise. It makes you a promise.
Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked.
Okay, here comes the promise.
If you say, the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you. No disaster will come near your tent. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
See what I mean? He speaks right there. He says, because you love me I will rescue you and protect you, for you acknowledge my name. You will call on me, and I will answer you. I will be with you in trouble. I will deliver you and honor you. With long life, I will satisfy you, and I will show you my salvation. That, again, is Psalm 91. And that's my favorite of all the verses in the Bible. But anyway, I also read at a funeral of a young girl that was just precious to me. Sky, as you know. I read I want to say Psalm 12 or Psalm 11. I don't remember. I think it had a 1 in it. I thought it was Psalm 11 or Psalm 12. Let me see if I can find what it was. The one that they read now y'all know that David wrote the book of Psalms. David was, I think, God's favorite person. God himself actually buried David. He was the richest king in the Bible, but he was a gnarly guy. He had bad intentions at one point in his life, but I don't remember which one it was. I think I read something. I don't know. I remember I read a poem. Don't stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the morning rush of whatever. You know what I'm saying? That one. I think I read. I forgot. I'm looking at the Psalms. Which one is the one that everybody reads all the time about? Remember when David was going to slay Goliath and he actually recited Psalm 20, is it Psalm 23? Psalm 20. This one. Whenever he was going up against Goliath, he recited this. And several people remembered it. He remembered it. He wrote it down when he wrote Psalms.
Psalm 23, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
That's a nice one. And last but not least, in the series Son of God, remember the series Son of God, the one I railed about for so long, when David went up against Goliath and he's walking towards Goliath and he recites Psalm 23. It's a beautiful part of that. Of course, y'all know I love that thing anyway. It's just amazing. I love it. It's my favorite part of... I love that so much. David and Goliath trailer. I don't remember this part. That looks like Goliath, though. Is it the one from Son of God? Let me see.
Not one man in Israel! Not one of God's people! Where is your faith? Where is your God?
Kill him!
You know, the History Channel did a special one time on Debi and Goliath, or one of the Mythbusters or something, and they had one of the experts of, what do you call that thing when you do it with a slingshot, you know? They actually had him try to see if he could knock something off from so many paces or whatever, and he did it, and it was really cool to watch. But here is the episode. Here is the audio that I wanted to show you guys. This is when David goes up against Goliath, and watch him recite Psalm 23.
To secure the promised land, the Israelites must defeat the Philistines. But King Saul has lost God's blessing. And now he faces the Philistines' greatest champion, Goliath.
Will one of you fight me? Israelites, you win! And the Philistines will be your slaves. I win! And you will be our slaves.
Someone must fight him! Not you, Jonathan. The warrior who defeats him will be a rich man!
Not one man in Israel! Not one of God's people!
I'll do it. David, you're no soldier, you're a shepherd.
Yes, a shepherd. As I protect my sheep, God will protect me.
Where is your faith? Where is your God?
I will kill him.
You'll need this.
I'll be better without it. Yea, though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. You are with me. Thy rod and staff, they comfort me. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
Israel has found a champion! Don't waste my time, little boy. You're too young to die.
I will fight you!
David did it. That's one of the best parts, I think, in the whole thing, the whole series of Son of God. It was a wonderful series. It was an excellent depiction of the Bible, and I thought it was just beautiful. I mean, the bottom line is you either believe or you don't believe. I was raised to believe, and I just do. I just do. And so let me close with I was talking about the book of Genesis when we first came on the air here. And I was going to play for everybody the repeat of Mr. Solution and I studying the book of Genesis. And here is Son of God's depiction of the first. Well, here's the first part. Just take a listen. It's kind of interesting. It's great.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. On the second day, God separated the waters to form the seas and the sky. On the third day, God created the land.
This is Noah talking.
With trees and plants and fruits.
Will we ever see land again?
Of course. Of course we will. The next day, he put the sun, the moon, and stars in the heavens. And on the fifth day, all the creatures of the sea and of the air. And on the sixth day, all the creatures of the ground. And then he made us to live in paradise. Until Adam and Eve disobeyed God and ate the forbidden fruit. And with one choice, they learned both good and evil. Since then, since Cain killed Abel, God has seen too much evil in human hearts. Wrong choices, wrong decisions. That's why this is happening. Our Creator decided to cleanse the earth. God warned me. He told me to build a boat. A boat to save our family and all the animals. Every other living creature would die. And on the seventh day, God rested.
If you've never seen Son of God, I think they called it. It's available on. Where is it available? I think it's available on. Is it available on Netflix? I don't know. I had mine on. I got mine on iTunes. The entire series I had. So anyway, fun stuff. Thanks to Lester Bartholomew Jones for calling in. He's hysterical. He's a nut. He's really a funny guy. I enjoy my relationship with Lester. And so for Lester and Mr. Midnight Movie, wherever you are out there, I'm sure you're in Sleepy Pie land somewhere. I'm going to take it out of here one more time. And you never know if I'll be on the next night or the next night or the next night. You never know. It just depends on whenever I decide to do this. Again, because of the police officer that so horribly shot that man in the back, I will close with this until the next time I see you crazy guys.
City. They chased a boy right through the park.
Okay, it's Mixler.com, and then it's... Well, let me take a look again. I said, I don't know your name on Mixler. He says, it was 2 hours of me interrogating her in regard to certain things. Mixler.com/examiner. Let me give you that, where he said it to me. And then we talked about a bunch of other stuff, too. He's a nice guy. I mean, if people have weird interpretations of me and my relationships with these guys. Here we go. This is what we got. So you may want to... What all did I put in there? Wait, let me see. Yeah, there it is. There you go. Let me see if that's the actual link. It is. So you may want to listen to that. I know some of you listen to her show sometimes and whatever. So there you go. That's that. And so for me and from you and all that good stuff, we got to hear some of Lester again. That was so freaking funny. Here we go with one last time. I mean, I know it's stupid, but it's just so freaking funny. Here we go with Lester trying to do a drop. He was in his downtown studio at the Plaza of the Americas.
Oh, get down, clown. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live. Let me start that over. I don't even know what I started with. You see, here we go. Get down, clown. This is Lester Bartholomew Jones from the radio show Lester Live. Fuck me, what the fuck? This is what happens when you start smoking weed, I think. Let's do this one more time. I'm going to count myself in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, get down, clown. Oh, fuck me. Here we go.
You know, for those of you who don't know that Lester really is a badass, I'm talking to him today on the cell phone, and he's driving around, and all of a sudden he goes, Debbie, hold on just a second. Hold on. And I hear a horn go beep. And I hear in the background, Lester opens his car door, gets out, and he goes, what the fuck, blah, 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 and he says there's a car full of like 5 people, 2 or 3 guys and a girl or something, and this car cuts in front of him, and he almost hits it, he says. And Lester doesn't just bat an eye to get out and just start, charging this guy up. And I'm like, whoa. And I could hear the guy in the background going, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, blah, blah, blah. And it was just, he is what he says he is. You know what I'm saying? He's not like a phony. So anyway, back to this. This is pretty funny. I won't interrupt anymore, I promise.
Count it in. 3, 2, 1. And I don't want to start it off with, hello, get down, clown. That's stupid. Okay, here we go. Why don't you count me in?
You count it in. I'm just recording and watching the settings.
I'll count myself in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, men and women. Oh, fuck me. Okay, here we go. This shit just makes it hard to stay on focus. That's what I'm thinking. The pain's better.
You'll get it.
All right, here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. All right, 3, 2, 1. My name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively. All right, here we go. Count it in. I'm ready. I'm going to rock and roll this time. I'll cut it this one time. We're not even going to have to do anything to it. It's so good. I know. Here we go. Count it in. 3, 2, 1. Hello, my name is Lester Bartholomew Jones of the radio show Lester Live, heard exclusively on iHeartRadio. I know that any time that I've gotten myself into kind of a fuck you. Count it in. 3, 2, what the fuck?